What's going on, everybody? 3D Print Everything. So today I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've been doing in the meantime, since I haven't posted in a while. I've actually made at least 2 videos that I haven't posted. I just decided either not to afterwards or didn't get around to it. But this is kind of a cool project. So if y'all don't know, obviously you do know that I run 3D Print Everything and this 3D printing channel. But I met this guy, Bill Bescript, who runs Sonofinity, and his logo's back there on that subwoofer, and he builds some of these big, cool subwoofers. So this was one of his prototype boxes that he built before I ever met him, and it is just a monster. I mean, essentially, these are some of the largest and most powerful subwoofers commercially available. There are some that have been built bigger, but what we're going for is even though the size might be bigger, what this replaces in size is amazing. So this box here alone would replace like would replace 4 times the amount of space if you were to buy other boxes, essentially. But what makes it cool, none of these are subwoofers. These are actually passive radiators. And trust me, I've got 3D print stuff in here, so don't worry, it's not all sound. I want to talk about 3D printing. That's why I started this. But these are passive radiators. So a passive radiator, I'll show you real quick, is essentially like a subwoofer without a magnet, without a motor, without any speaker wires. So I'll show you. We got one in here. This is a passive radiator. And if you've ever wondered about how is 3D printing being used in industry, this is going to be one here. So this was bought from Pierce Audio, and you can see on the back there is nothing, right? So there's nothing on this. Now let's look at a subwoofer just so you got an idea. You might not have an idea what a subwoofer looks like, but this is a subwoofer here. This is an 8-inch subwoofer, so it's 8 inches across in diameter, and we got a beefy magnet on here. This is a powerful 8-inch subwoofer. This is from Sundown Audio, 500 RMS. Nice, great sub, but you see this motor and the power and everything, do that. So on this one, the whole point of it, so there's nothing to drive this. This isn't going to move. From electricity. What happens is you put those subwoofers in the back of the box and you have them fire into the backside of this, and then through sound waves and resonance you get this thing to move, and then you get more bass. So it's acoustic leverage is kind of the way he puts it. And being a car guy, to me the easy explanation is you're kind of turbocharging your subwoofer. So essentially your subwoofer has excursion, which is how far it can move before it bottoms out and hits itself or breaks. Right? So if you send all the power, it'll go too far, right? So with the passive radiator, when you push on that passive radiator, it starts pushing back, and when it's vibrating like this, that passive radiator pushes back onto the driver. So now if the driver could go this far by itself with that passive radiator under the same power, maybe it's only going this far now. So the more you push it, the more it's pushing back. The more you can push it, the more it's pushing back. You do eventually reach a limit, but it's really cool. It's acoustic leverage. Now on this part, under this, and we can even kind of see there's actually a nut or a bolt, and below that bolt was a 3D printed part. And I didn't like how that bolt looked on top of a 3D printed part. It literally made this look like a nipple. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be visible. I don't want people to look at it and think it's a nipple. But then also, I thought this was cool. What does that look like? That is a 3D printed part. So that's kind of cool. I wanted to highlight that. So there's a 3D printed part, 2 3D printed parts in our passive radiator here. So that's really neat, and we had no idea when we ordered those that there was going to be 3D printed parts in it. But I just wanted to show that there's more places where you're going to start seeing 3D printed parts. We can see on this one, there is no, see they do some type of little gasket thing here with this screw. So they built that differently. Now, this is kind of cool, so I'll show you a little bit more about the sub. So this is one of our subwoofers. This was one we built, and then we were like, this sounds great, a lot of people love it, but it's not exactly powerful enough. This isn't the sound of Sonofinity. And just to be clear, we're not talking about the 3D printer, we're talking about the box underneath. So that box has 2 subwoofers. We took this one out of it and another one out of it, so it has 2. And we replaced them with a little bit bigger ones than this. So this was a 500 RMS. We replaced it with 1,000 watt RMSs. Sounds a lot better now. We're impressed by it. We love it. But again, not powerful enough. Let me show you what we're putting in this box that I'm building here. And I'll tell you more about this box and why it's interesting and compelling to me. So this, Jesus Christ, this thing probably weighs 80 or more pounds. Sorry for my great camera, but look at the difference of this thing. So this is an 8-inch, this is a 10-inch. 500 RMS, we have 1000 RMSs in there. This is rated at 25, and that's probably an under rating. It's probably closer to 3000 RMS. So we're going to put 2 of these guys, and this is made by EM Audio. So we've been working together with them on a couple of projects, and that's pretty cool. So EM got us an awesome subwoofer here. We paid for these, not sponsored or anything. And we are going to put those in this box back here. Now let me tell you more about this. So in the past, essentially right before I got into 3D printing, I'd also got into cryptocurrency a little bit, and you know, I'm no expert. I'm not going to give any advice on any of that stuff, but we all know that cryptocurrency has taken a big downturn this year. I had some friends that had over $1 million or 800,000, 200,000, and they essentially pulled out their last $1,000. So too late. Now most of those guys got back a lot more than they put in. I got back a little less than what I put in. So honestly, I'd probably put in 7, maybe 10 grand, probably less than that. But I got back like 4.5. So I pulled that out as it was going down. It looked like it was going to continue going down. So you know what? I'm going to turn this into an asset. And I could have bought, you know, any number of really cool 3D printers. But I like this sound company. And you know, part of the presenting problem was that sub's too big. You can't move it in and out of a 18-wheeler with 2 people. Like, you need practically a crane or a forklift. It's ridiculous. It's awesome if it was installed and stays where it's at. Perfect. But if you're trying to move it from concert to concert, it's not practical. And that was some of the feedback we got when we started showing professionals in the industry some of our monstrosities. This is one of like 5 monstrosities, and it's not even the biggest. So we came up with this box, which won't be but just a couple inches bigger than that one. So now 2 to 4 people can easily move this thing. But what makes this actually super unique and more 3D printed knowledge, this piece right here is not made from wood. And you can tell right here, this piece is 3D printed, obviously. Not obviously from the paint, but it's actually 3 sections. I planned on doing this in one piece on my big printer, had some issues with it, just decided to divide it up in 3 pieces. So it's 1, 2, 3, and we did this. So instead of having a subwoofer with like straight lines, or, you know, in this case, we have diverters over here, but it's a triangle shape. You know, you can kind of see that point. This will actually provide a much better flow of the sound waves and air. So this shape is really going to be unique. And we also changed it, so instead of it being like a square out like this, it actually is a horn now, which is going to increase the sound more. So this box here should be less than half the size of that and equal power. That's what's going to make this awesome. So this will sound like a really big, massive sub, and it'll be much, much smaller. You'll only need 1 or 2 of these for an entire club, instead of some clubs having 4 to 18 subwoofers and stuff like that. So that was kind of some of our goal. You know, you put this in a movie theater, luxury home theater, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to sell you on subwoofers. I just thought it was really cool that we're implementing 3D printed parts in this, that I found 3D printed parts in our subwoofers, or in the actual passive radiators. And, you know, there's more to talk about this, but some of it I can't talk about as far as other audio stuff that we're working on with 3D printing. But stuff is in the works, and it will be announced one day. So this is, you know, this is cool. So, and I can kind of give you a little bit of an idea. This is the bottom of the subwoofer, and I'll show this when it's finished. So the bottom of it is here. This will go up on it about like this. So the bottom, like that port, this port here will be right above this, and then that one over here, sorry, my camera again, will be above this. So right now I'm waiting for like glue to dry and everything else. But when we put it all together, the subwoofers and passive radiators will be right here, right? And then those are the baffles. That's what all of the subwoofers are going to mount to. And all that sound waves is going to travel through here, down past that, and then out a horn. And then these sections, I won't even talk about that. Don't worry about what those are. And then we have Lexan at the bottom, which is like plexiglass, stronger. In here, we're going to have a plexiglass sheet going this way, plexiglass sheet going that way, and that way. So when these baffles are in here and the subwoofers are mounted, you're going to get to see the back side of the subwoofer and the front side of the subwoofer. So we'll get to see this thing shaking back and forth. You'll be able to stand right here and see the sub shaking back and forth. It's going to be cool. This I'm really, really excited about. So essentially, you know, what did I say? I took out 5 grand, something like that. I spent all that on building this thing. It's an expensive endeavor. I've bought many cars at $600 to $1,000 to several thousand. To think that I'm building a subwoofer that would otherwise fit in the trunk of a vehicle, costing that much, you know, I mean, sure, there's plenty of vehicles that get into the, you know, 70, 80, 100,000, and this is just a small fraction of that. But this is a lot of money for a poor boy, essentially. So I'm really hoping that I can either resell this for hopefully double, or that I can, rent this out. So this would be something that I could ultimately hopefully rent for, you know, a night or a weekend or a festival, and get paid, you know, several hundred to several $1,000s for renting it, as well as some of our other sound. And we'll also, of course, use it to throw some parties. I have thrown some parties in here with lasers and lights and stuff. So, you know, essentially 3D printing is not, you know, my ticket to a Tesla today. I'm not driving anything super special. I actually still owe some people money. Well, a lot. It's been a rough time, and people have heard me complain in the past. I'm not here to do that now. I'm still very hopeful. I've got good jobs that are right there on the cusp of coming through, so I'm really, really hopeful with those. And I'm hopeful that when this is finished, that I can use it to make some money. You know, take what have otherwise been some money that I invested into crypto and had it go poof, and able to put it into an asset that at the very least I could, you know, someone will pay something for it. The goal is to not lose money. The goal is to, you know, spread the cool sound of this. But okay, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. And the last thing that I mentioned, the whole point of those passive radiators, I didn't close that loop. The whole point of the passive radiator is you can tune them to certain frequencies. So most commercial subwoofers out there right now cannot hit or go below like 30 to 40 hertz. And if they say they can hit, you know, 38, 32, 28 hertz, that's as like the curve is going down. So like, you know, like you have a peak up here at like 50 to 80 hertz, and then it's like, okay, yeah, we can hit 30 over here. You'll hear 30 hertz, but it's as it's dropping off. Our subs, you know, it's like, you know, way up here, our peak is the low notes. Sorry, my hands are... Anyways, it's late. I'm hungry. I want to go home, but I just wanted to do a video real quick. But anyways, they just play really deep notes really, really well, and at max power. And it's a super clean sounding bass. It literally changed my life when I heard these subwoofers. Like, that's how, you know, I'm not a super audiophile and I'm not a super bass head, but I have had, you know, subwoofers in a lot of my cars. I do love good bass. That's part of the reason why I joined forces with them. But I understood. It was a light bulb awakening moment to literally hear these subwoofers. And many other DJs and other sound audiophiles, sound engineers have said the same exact thing, and have at least confirmed that, yes, you built something that is really cool, really amazing. You have something special. Now is the time to get it out there. So yeah, if any of you are audiophiles, sound engineers, have anything to do with concerts, clubs, know anybody that might be interested in this, yes, I would love, you know, for you to contact me. You can reach out to me at my phone number, 817-723-0443. My email, 3dprintseverything@gmail.com, prints with an S. 3dprintseverything@gmail.com. My website, 3dprinteverything.net. The company name is Sonofinity. I'm obviously working with him, Bill Bescript. But yeah, you know, I would love the leads and whatnot, but the point of this is not to sell it. The point of this to y'all, the point of this is to highlight the cool things we're doing with 3D printing, and not just say, hey, look at my 3D printed parts of my subwoofer, but fully explain it and give you a little more immersion in the project that I'm working on and the goals that I have for it. So anyways, thanks guys. I really appreciate y'all watching these videos. Comment, like, share, subscribe, but really comment on like what you think of this. I'm very curious, as the 3D printing community, what do you think of 3D printed parts going into subwoofers and subwoofer boxes, and how a subwoofer box could even cost $5,000 to build, much less cost, you know, 10 to 50 grand to buy. That one won't be a 50 grand box, don't worry. But anyways, I love hearing from y'all, and I will chat with y'all later. Have a good night.